Waterfalls are always a beautiful sight. Seeing a small waterfall in a bed of a tiny mountain spring, which appeared thanks to a stone that formed the ledge, one will surely stop by to dip their hands into the icy cold water and listen to its sounds. The water runs through the gorges from far away, from heights where the peaks are covered with enormous glaciers, where strong winds dance with the snow and the sun battles with thunderclouds. Commencing in the snowy mountaintops, these rivers never sleep, raging through narrow cliffs and steep banks, carrying huge rocks along the riverbeds, spreading and feeding the fertile lands in the valleys, bringing life to people, animals, birds, and plants. Some Kazakhstani rivers are suitable for rafting. Those who are brave bring their canoes, double canoes, and rafts to have an opportunity to merge with this force of nature, test their limits and skills in the rushing waters, which can wash down anything in their way. Risking to get wet, daring adventurers overcome the river rapids. But if there is a waterfall on the map, you have to get to the shore, carry your raft, and get back to the water stream below the waterfall. The water falling from this height has enormous power. It can set hydroelectric power plants in motion, work for the benefit of humanity, but also it can be its enemy. And we're choosing the route that will allow us to observe the mountain rivers from a safe distance. Unlike the river rapids that create obstacles for the water tourists, waterfalls are formed by cliffs with rapid height changes. The falling water is a destructive force. It slowly erodes the ledge, grinds down the rocks and stones, and thereby retreats upstream. In fact, the Niagara Falls retreats almost 1 meter every year. Waterfalls have their own classifications. A waterfall is considered to be classic when the white flow comes down the cliff, forming a relatively flat surface without breaking into segments. There is nothing in nature that lasts forever, and waterfalls grind down the cliffs as well. But often as the rocks are eroded, some stones are broken down, forming new water streams. New waterfalls appear above or below the old ones. They migrate along the rivers and are called cataract waterfalls. There are also the river rapids, low waterfalls without water actually dropping down. And there are vertical waterfalls when the water drops down from a hanging cliff. If the river is wide and the water falls vertically from a flat cliff, then the waterfall looks like a smooth sheet. Segmented waterfalls form two or several parallel waterfalls. There are also ribbon waterfalls when the ribbon falls as a single current through a narrow section and moves through narrow crests before dropping. And there's the chute type of waterfall, when the water moves along the cliffs, passes in the form of a fan through a narrow ridge, and then expands. Or forms something that looks like a horse tail, when the water stays in contact with a hard rock surface. Waterfalls can look like staircases, sometimes with many steps, tiered and multi-level. They can look like wheels. When descending down the cliffs, the water covers the stones with a thin layer and flows down the rock slides. The world's highest waterfall is the Angel Falls in Venezuela. Its height is around 1,000 meters. And the highest one in Central Asia and Kazakhstan is the Burhan Bulak waterfall. It is located in the gorge of the Kora River and the Zhongar Alatau mountain range. The Zhongar Alatau mountain range is located in the eastern part of Kazakhstan and spans from the border of Kazakhstan and China between the Ili River and Lake Alakol. The total length of the mountain range is around 400 kilometers, with a height of up to 4,500 meters. Its highest peaks are perpetually covered in snow. The longest range of the Zhongar Alatau is the northern range. This territory has a lot of ancient grave mounds and cave paintings remaining from the tribes that traveled through these places several hundred years ago. The Koksu River is one of the rivers that is suitable for rafting. A cascade type of waterfall has the water dropping from one surface to another along the hard rock ledges. Perhaps these waterfalls are the most beautiful. The water hits the rocks, resulting in billions of splashes. The Burhan Bulak waterfall has 4 cascades. Its height is around 170 meters, and its visible part consists of 3 cascades, 114 meters in height. Kazakhstan has several mountainous areas. The most significant is the central Tian Shan. From Jungaria, we will move to Transili Alatau, the northernmost range of the Tian Shan Mountains, which are spread across the territories of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and China. The mountain range starts in the west within the territory of the Chu River and spans 280 kilometers east up to the Chilik River. To the north, from the central ridge, the slopes descend to the Ili River. In the south, it is separated from the Kungay Alatau by intermountain valleys of two rivers, Chilik and Chonkemin. The Transili Alatau has peaks reaching heights of 4,000 and 4,600 meters. The highest one is the Talgar Peak, with a height of 5,017 meters. Summers in this area of Kazakhstan are hot, and many residents of Almaty spend their evenings in the mountains, the southern borders of which extend along the foothills of the Transili Alatau. There are not many cities like this in the world. And if the French town of Chamonix, which is considered to be the bedrock of alpine sports, the glaciers melt down right from the Mont Blanc, then the citizens of Almaty need a car to reach the mountains. But the drive takes only a few minutes. People of the southern capital of Kazakhstan are incredibly lucky. When down below temperatures reach 30 degrees Celsius, up in the mountains, among the rocks, under the shadows of centennial pine trees, it is much cooler. The air is filled with the aroma of resin and herbs, and the river waters bring the cool air of the glaciers. One of the smaller but very beautiful waterfalls is in the Big Almaty Gorge, or the Ayusai Gorge to be exact. Ayusai in Kazakh means bear meadow. Indeed, this mountainous area has brown bears, and the tracks were seen by the rangers of the national parks. Ayusai is adjacent to the main gorge, and it takes only a few-minute walk from the road to the waterfall. Many people from the city spend their weekends here. The narrow path leads along the river and spreads in the very narrow space made by the cliffs. It seems that the river here is leaping from a great height. If you get closer to the waterfall, you will find yourself inside a cloud of splashing water, and it will seem that heavy rainfall just ended a minute ago and the air is still full of its freshness. A steep rock slide is on the right from the waterfall, and if you climb onto it, you can move deeper into the Ayusai Gorge along the path. Soon the path will lead you to a narrow rocky canyon with a second waterfall dropping from a height of 12 meters. Broken cliffs and sharp gorges can be seen higher up, leading to the northern slopes of the Big Almaty Peak that has a right pyramidal shape. The small Almaty Lake flows in the nearby small Almaty Gorge. The Gorelnik River flows into it. A tourist camp and a recreation camp for children has been operating here for many years. Just a bit further down, a gravel road splits away from the main road, leading us to Gorelnik. After the ranger's house, we'll make a slight turn and continue along the path trodden by numerous tourists. It follows the river. We keep moving along the narrow path, avoiding the branches of centennial Tian Shan pine trees, crossing sunny meadows and good shady mushroom spots. On the way, we see mudflow deposits, but the gorge gets narrower and the path takes us straight to the stones sitting in a riverbed. 500 more meters and you get to the waterfall. Water is running along the rocks, bouncing off the cliffs, and the sunlight is reflected in every drop. From the waterfall, the path takes us up the slope, leads us under the birch and aspen trees. The branches of rowan trees are moving in the wind, pine trees are whispering among themselves. Rosehip bushes and juniper are growing in the open meadows, and careless butterflies and bumblebees are flying about. The forest is now behind us, and ahead is a colorful alpine valley full of flowers. Ahead, the mountain range rises, and we can see the Kumbel Peak. The second waterfall is twice as high, and you find yourself enveloped in a cloud of splashing water. It's as if you're under a cold shower. The feeling of tiredness leaves your body, and instead you are filled with boundless joy. Those who like this path swear that numerous times they have encountered a very rare blue bird near the largest waterfall, which according to the legends is a sign of good luck. Another path that is popular with Almaty's residents takes us into the Butakovka waterfall. It can be found in the gorge that bears the same name. It's not hard to reach the waterfall. After a drive to the Madero ice skating rink, you need to turn left towards the forestry, leave your car there, and continue by foot. In some places, the path leads straight up the mountain and later levels out, follows the pine woods full of bushes and grassy meadows. The Butakovka waterfall is hidden in a short side gorge with steep cliffs rising high. Its height, 25 meters. At its upper part, the flow is broken into multiple streams that loudly drop down from the cliffs to the bottom of the gorge. The bravest ones can stand under the icy cold flows to wash off the negative energy. If the small and big Almaty gorges are only a few minute drive away from the city of Almaty, with its population of 1.5 million people, to get to the Turgen Gorge, you will have to drive 70 kilometers along a busy road. It starts right after the town of Issyk. The gorge is long and snake-like. Its road leads towards the high-altitude plateau Asy. This is the territory of the İli National Park. The ancient caravan path to southeastern Asia, where you can see the Sakha Grave Mountains hiding the tracks of nomadic tribes and nations. Archaeologists discovered evidence of settlements dating back to 2nd and 3rd millennium BC. The locals call the Turgen Gorge a land of waterfalls with springs and hot springs leading from the ground. Streams of clearest cold water drop down from the cliffs. The gorge is rich in forests, and in a matter of just one day, tourists can reach different natural and climate zones. The upper part, in the alpine meadows, is filled with the aroma of honey. This is the smell of high-altitude flowers with short stems that can withstand strong winds and rapid day-night temperature changes. This area is also famous for its unique endemic Chinturgen moss pine woods that cover the ground like a carpet with their roots reaching deep into eternal frost. The asphalt road ends at the fork near the ranger post beyond the Batan village. The road leading east takes the travelers to the high-altitude plateau Asy. Another road will soon end, and we'll have to go by foot from that point, crossing the river by bridges, enjoying the view of the forest and the silence of nature. The path leads to a wide meadow where two mountain rivers meet. A lateral flow of the Turgen River, the Bozgul River, breaks through the rocky dam a little above the confluence point, creating a waterfall. The Turgen Gorge has 7 waterfalls. The Kayrak waterfall is considered to be one of the largest in the Transilya Mountains. The rushing water flow drops down from the rocky steps from a height of 55 meters. Like most of the waterfalls in this mountain range, the Kayrak waterfall is a cascade type of waterfall. At first glance, it does not seem that big, but once you reach the upper viewing point using the wooden ladder, you can see the grandeur of this miracle of nature. The Turgen Gorge is very popular. People from local towns and villages spend their weekends here, and water tourists come to compete. One of the most visited places is at the foothills of the Bear Waterfall on the Turgen River. The waterfall is 30 meters high. It is 2 kilometers away from the main road that carves through the gorge and is easy to reach. The water streams drop down from a height of 30 meters, eroding the rocks. The Uzun Kargalı River Valley is not part of the national park. Most of it is located at a height of less than 1,500 meters above sea level. The town of Kargalı is 50 kilometers away from Almaty, and those who want to have a better view of the Grand Waterfall better get ready for a good hike. From the landslide protection dam, the path moves along the riverbed, leads us through the meadows, keeping close to the cliffs. The river is inhabited by a certain type of fish, the osman, which is of the trout family. The floodplain is full of barberry and rosehill bushes, wild apricot and apple trees. A strong lateral spring flows into the river in one place, as if falling right from the cliffs, and soon the path ends, and the river follows the deep and narrow gorge. Further, we have to search for a path among the boulders filling the riverbed, and you can see the gorge turn and hear the sounds of water dropping from the great heights. Here, a powerful water flow enclosed in the rocky dungeon drops from big heights. Its splashes are flying out to tens of meters. The water dust is streaming out of the rocky entrapment, forming a huge bubble, gleaming with all the colors of the rainbow. This river starts from the high-altitude plateau, Ushkonur. Kazakhstan's nature is unique. Open steppes, clear rivers, mountain lakes surrounded by snow caps, and waterfalls. Having seen it once, you will surely want to come back.